to the Software Skills course part 2 for EstimatorXpress. Today we will be looking at the specifications as well as mini specs and a few other little bits and bobs going forward. Now, for this session, we're going to start off in the library on the left-hand side. We covered this in the last session. Navigation tree to the left, click on the blue cog for library. And just as I start, there we go, a couple more people just dropped in, fantastic. Now, as we go forward, if you do have any questions, please pop them into the questions box. If you've got access to chat, you can use that as well. I'll keep that open and visible for anything coming through. If there is any issues with the audio, please let me know. Actually, good chance to say if you can hear me, please use the raise hand icon just so I know I'm not talking into the wind. Fantastic, people can hear me. That's always a good start. And again, just to apologise beforehand if I do go silent, I'm just mostly having to have a bit of a cough to clear my lungs a moment. So to begin, I'm going to go across to the navigation tree again, and I'm going to click on specifications. This is so I can see the default list of specifications within the software. Now, for the first part of this, we're going to cover what specifications are, what kind of jobs they'd be suitable for, how to change resources within a specification, and how the usage factors are applied and what they are effectively. Then at the end, we're going to look at our profit markups, overheads, and inflation rates, and have a little tinker with a calculator with an estimate, one of the old style ones now, just so we can show how the items listed within a calculator that's come through from the spec can still be adjusted even once we've actually started estimating. The first thing I'm going to do is introduce everyone to the types of specification we have within the software. They fall into several, let's say, kind of categories, as it were, and those categories are actually, in recent years, shrunk in the number of differences between them effectively, as building regulations have become more homogenized between extension and new build. We'll start off with the new build. You'll see there is a new build specification listed just there. As a note, if you do not have all of these specifications, it may be dependent on the version of the software you are currently running. So if you're running a version that was purchased to do focusing on extensions, then you may not have the new build specification. Why not? They're all very much similar to each other. So the new build specification will go for your standard build speeds for brick, block, laying floors, and so forth there. It uses, for its plant, items like JCBs, 20-ton tippers to remove spoil. It's dedicated towards, say, a new build project, which could be singular or one of multiple. And it is focused on using materials within its specification that were, if used and left as default, would pass current building regulations for types of blocks used, insulation used, and so forth. Accompanying that is an extension specification. Now, the extension specification, material-wise, now matches the new build, saying insulation in the cavity, because cavities are now, the walls are of similar spec between the two. Prior years, that would have been a slightly narrower insulation, allowing for narrower cavity. The main difference now remaining for the extension specification is overall build speeds, as an extension spec will use a slower build speed for certain tasks, from, say, laying bricks and blocks, laying floors, constructing roofs and so forth, as it expects that on an extension, access is going to be reduced, or you're not going to have a forklift to lift things up onto the scaffold for you to make life easy. So it just reduces the amount of, increases the amount of time, effectively, to do certain tasks. It also, by default, uses things like mini diggers and skips to remove spoil as its basis. So that would be that one just there. And at the bottom there, I've got listed a renovation specification. Renovation specification is very much like the extension specification, slower build speeds, smaller plant, but can be, say, slower in certain areas and points towards those tasks. So already factoring faster build speeds, lower build speeds, just by the choice of specification we're using. To the side of those, we have two types of timber frame specification. We have site fabricated timber frame, so both new build and extension site fabricated timber frame. This is presuming you're doing like a stick build, you're building it on site, or you're constructing the panels yourself and erecting those on site. The main difference between what these specifications do compared to the others is that anything that is relating to where the timber kit or timber frame would exist, so the inner leaf of a wall, would tell all calculators that would have an inner leaf to them to say, don't need it, there's a timber frame going here. And that mainly focuses on walls. The timber frame specification and extension timber frame specification, the ones that do not say site fab, presume everything is coming in as a kit. These are ideal to use when you are building a supplied kit. It's manufactured off site, you just assemble, skin it, and fill it with things. Also appropriate for use with things like SIPs type constructions as well, where again, the walls are going to be timber frame or timber panels or SIPs panels, but also the floors are going to come in as part of the kit, and the roofs are also going to be coming in as part of the kit, and all those elements will be set as including timber frame. Now, I'm not going to make any changes on these just yet, but what I am going to do is I'm going to enter a new build specification. I'm going to open this one up just so I can take you through what we do. Once we've gone through the tour of what is in the specification, we'll come back out, we'll copy one, so we've got one we can tinker with, and we can go from there. And you can follow along, make some changes. So I've entered a new build specification. You'll see here that along the top I have my section, cavity wall specification, and general walling. So this is pointing towards the concrete to be used on any wall, so ready mixed gen concrete, trench blocks to be used. If ever I use a trench block in a wall, it will look towards the trench block 440 by 215 by 355. What kind of solid dense concrete coursing brick could be used. The default facing brick, though, we'll be overwriting that with a specification. It does default to a £1.20 now, much more, say, in line with what it was previously. Has been a recent increase. One to note here, though, is that on the cavity installation, it'll be using a phenolic insulated cavity wallboard as its default installation within this new build. And you'll see there all the blocks above DPC less openings, so inner leaf, insulation standard block. Now, if I was to just bring this across here a little bit, and I was to go to the site fabricated timber frame, you'll see now that the lines in the specification, when I was saying including timber frame, so whenever the calculator goes to use those resources, it'll say, no, they don't need to. They're going to be done elsewhere in the calculator. It also affects other materials. There we go. Instead of now being a dot and dab system to the inner leaf block, it's now using timber screws to affix plasterboard to timber frame instead. So it's preparing the walls for that. So effectively the inner leaf can be swapped out for timber frame. There are new calculators that can help bypass all of this. So it's less of a concern to get into all this now, but it's still worthwhile as foundational knowledge. Excuse the pun. if I go tiling, you'll see that under the roof tiling there as well. I should have go to the section instead. There we go. Apex Valley roof joists, cut roof items, they're all currently there. Now, if I switch over to a timber frame spec, we'll see if I go down to the rafters. There we go. All of the roof items are now also set as timber frame. So if you just want to go, oh, roof calculator, because you just need to do the felt and batten, tiling, lead work, cement or dry fix stuff, verges, how we can do it, including insulation, barge boards, fascias, soffits, guttering, plastering underneath, decorating underneath for the rooms. All that is still handled by the calculator, but the actual timbers for the roof itself will now be part of the kit and kept separate. I'm going to go back to my specification so I can use my navigation tree on the left to jump around from section to section there as well. And so we can start making some changes and seeing how changes affect things within the software. I'm going to take, say, an extension specification, or you can use a renovation, and I'm going to click copy. Why are you being so noisy? My laptop next to me has decided to spin its fans up for no good reason, so if my microphone's picking that up. There we go. So for this specification, I'm going to call this training. Click OK there. You'll see that it's added onto the list of specifications on the left-hand side, and now I've got the copy of the specification open in front of me. So just to run through that again, I have my general walling specification, but on top of that, as I go down further, you'll see that there is a stone face cavity wall spec, basically the spec it used when you use a previous version stone wall. And any variation of that will be using the materials that be particular to those that tool, but the actual main items within. So if it needs stretch blocks, if it needs insulation, what will it use? It will look to the general walling spec. And as I go down, there are more and more items that are listed. So basically, now on most things, if not near everything, bar any custom systems that is involved in constructing a property of one type or another, there will be a spec line in here listed. The only items that will not be listed is within the calculators that have their own specification. We'll get onto that in a bit. Whenever you're working, the vast majority of calculators will look to these specifications, say, okay, I need breather membrane. What's my breather membrane? Right, okay, it's a medium weight, 1.5 by 50 meter membrane, generically named, as we covered last time. If I was to scroll down a little bit, I'm going to say it needs gutter. What's this gutter going to use? I was going to use plastic half round gutter. There's got a union bracket there for 112mm gutter. That's its default. That's what the calculator, or say I need to do guttering, it would look to the specification, go, the guttering I am using is plastic half round, supplied in 4 meters. That's what you're going to be using for this task, and so forth. So it's just a repository of Okay. I'm using words I get myself confused with. It's basically a library of all the items you need to. It's going to be using for any particular task. Now, I'm going to go back up to the top. I'm going to make some changes in here, purely just so I can show you the effect of them later on. But there are reasons why you might want to make changes within a specification itself. You might be, like I say, there's two examples I've got written down here. First one is you do regular work for an architect who always specifies a particular type of timber for the roof joists. They might always, without hesitation, always specify a 200mm timber. Our defaults are 125 and 150, depending on what type of roof it is. You might go into the specification and change those those rafters to 200s, and the noggins maybe as well. You might not need to do the joists between. You may need to, but once you've changed it in the specification here, next time you go to do a roof, it'll be using a 200mm timber. This is, like I say, something to save you effort changing that every time. And you can have a specification with that architect's name on it that uses the particular materials they use each and every time. Another example could be you either work for a particular architect or work in a certain area, or this small area or type of build you might do always specifies a certain type of block to be used. And they might always specify something very specific. It could be external, using a sandstone block. It could be internal, using like I say, swapping the 7 Newton blocks to a 10 Newton block. However that might go down. But instead of having to change it in every estimate going forwards, whenever you come across it, you can just set a spec that has that couple of changed preferences, and that's done. Before we go into, say, making changes, a little kind of heads up. You don't need to go through the specification and go, oh, I need to check all of this. I need to make sure it's all going to the stuff I need it to be. Don't. It's all pointing to generic stuff. If something is a requirement change, because you always have to change it, that's something that will emerge down the line. You'll see that, oh, I've had to change that on every job. I'll bet if I change it in the spec, I won't have to change it again. Do it retroactively. Do it reactively. Try to be proactive. You can end up going through the whole list and end up changing 50 materials, and only one of them will ever be used in a job anyway, because the other ones are just there as alternatives or calculators you may never use. As I go down this list, there are an incredible amount of resources listed, but from my experience, when people are using the software, they are going to be using just one part of it. The software can cover so many different types of buildings, so many different types of build styles, and types of construction you may want to do, but not everyone builds everything. So find out what it is you actually might ever need to change, if you ever need to change anything. It's becoming less and less of a occurrence now, as we've got mini specs to kind of cover that, and then change things if you figure that is going to be helpful in the long run. Now, moving on to actually making some changes within the specification. I'm going to scroll down a little bit now, and I've got my cavity insulation here. Now I'm going to change it to one insulation, and I'm going to, I've thought about using the sheet floor, but I'm not going to use a Celotex type board, just a standard Celotex board. Sorry, my apologies, that caught me out. And I'm going to go down to the roof section and use our sheep's wool that we created in the last session. So starting off, let's say that the insulation in the job I always have to change every single time. So I never ever use a insulated cavity wall board. I use a 100mm Celotex 100mm Kingspan each and every time, regardless. So I have phenolic insulated cavity wall board. I can either right click on this and click change resource, or I can click on the change resource button within the ribbon. It's always going to be the same icon, green book with a spanner icon. Let's say I look for the spanner, but my webcam's not on. Now we've got the price book up. This should be familiar. We loaded it last Tuesday. And it's opened up on the resource that we're currently using, a phenolic insulated cavity wallboard. Make note of the size. It's 450 by 1200. Ignore the 90 for now. We know we need a 90mm or roundabouts insulation, but 450 by 1200. Let's say I'm going to pick one of these polyiso boards down here. I go polyiso CO8 insulation board 2400, 1200 by 100mm. I'm going to pick this 100mm board. Could be any one of them really. Thickness is not my aim at this point. I'm just going to pick one itself, and I'm going to click select resource. Every time you change a resource, you will always have the edit resource box pop up. Always check it, unless you know exactly what it is that you're changing. Simple reason. Estimate rate for that polyiso board now is £59.26 per metre square, which doesn't quite make sense because they're £32 each and they're quite large. Reason being is the usage factor is 1.85185. That means it's using one and a bit, nearly two boards, one at point and 85% of another, to do 1 metre square. Now, usage factor, metre square, 1.185. Okay. So it's using too much. If I click on the calculator, I can help to work this out. Now, I know what the usage factor for this is anyway, but it's something like 0.35. If I say I use one polyiso board and I look at the size of the board, so the description is effectively giving the answer now. I might have to do a bit of maths on this one. It's 2.88 meters square coverage for that board. So I use one board per 2.88 meters square, 0.3472. There we go. There's an £11, 11 pence per meter square. That's much more reasonable. I can click OK. Job done. Next time I do a wall, and I use a cavity insulation, I use a standard wall, not one of the new wall calculators, just to know, one of the standard ones. It will use the polyiso instead of the thing. Now, that's only if I pick this training spec. If I pick a extension spec or new build spec, it's still referring to the old resource. Give you a second to catch up and run through that. Alrighty, yeah. Now, we've changed the resource and we've changed its usage factor. So it knows how much of that resource it needs to use per meter square. Then with that information, when we give it some sizing information, when we actually calculate something with it, it knows how much it's going to need, plus wastage. But there's another factor in this. Now, the fixing this insulation, we can just leave as. Other materials, when you change them, you might need to look at, say, what they're being fixed with. You might need longer screws or something like that if you want to get really into the nitty-gritty of it. But the main thing is that I'm going to need to change how fast it's laid, because it's going to be more awkward. Yeah, you can whack a big sheet in there if you want to, but you've got more cutting involved when you go around doors and windows. Plus, you're not exactly going to do 1.2 by 2.4 meter sections, single skin each time, to put this against and then skin up the other side. Can do, but you might be doing more of a few courses, which is why you have the previous wallboard was done to the size it was. So we've got a little more work involved. If I scroll down a little bit, you see there I'm currently looking at, if I minimize the detail side of things, materials. And if I scroll down under the resource there, it changes to labor. It does group material, labor, then plant. Within this labour section, there will be fixed cavity insulation. That's currently still working at the speed of the brickies as they're working, just putting in the wallboard, fixing it, cracking on with the actual laying. This time I don't need to click change resource because the gang is still the same gang. But they will be doing this at different speeds, so I can actually click directly on the edit resource button, which looks like the barrel there. There's like £3 coins stacked with a blue pen. Now it's got a usage factor of 0.036. This maketh no sense. So I'm going to click on the calculator. Now it makes sense. It takes 1 hour to lay 27.7778 meters square cavity insulation. Goes back in a bit as they go along. It's literally minutes at a time, quick and easy. Hence why it's a fast task. This is one of those ones that you're not going to be breaking the bank if you forget to change it. Some tasks are very much worthwhile checking the labour laying speed. I'll get to that in a bit. I promise you a horror story. I shall give you a horror story. So it takes 1 hour to do 2.77. If we want to say, oh, it's just much more awkward, we can say it takes 2 hours to do the same area. It takes twice as long to fit it. Now, that's currently at £2.70 per metre square to fit. If I just double the amount of time, it's now £5.40 per metre square fitting the insulation. Now, that on a small job isn't going to make or break the bank. But you talk on, 4-bedroom house, do 60 of them. That's not pocket money anymore. Yeah, that's at least a significant fry up and at least 2 cups of coffee at current rates per house. Being realistic here. But you want to factor those things in. You want to have the little pleasures in life. You got to make sure you got to remember the old phrase: look after the pennies, the pounds look after themselves. So we'll cover the labour side of things. So that's the basics of changing a resource, and this is doing it directly within the calculator, which you can do with an estimator, the actual estimates themselves. But there's also a nice wizard we're going to introduce you to in a bit as well. Are there any questions so far? Nope, no questions. I love when there's no questions. It means I've been here for 30 minutes now talking to myself. Someone's gonna hear me one day and institutionalize me. What's he talking to a screen for? Right. We'll find another resource to do the same change with, but there's other things we can consider on this. I'm gonna go to, well, let's use the filters. So we can use the filters to find things in there. If I go to build phase and I go to plastering, roof structure, I don't think I need to do roof tiling, but I'll throw roof tiling in there as well. I'll click 3 phases: plastering, roof structure, roof tiling. I've still got quite a lot of information in here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the type filter. I'm going to say insulation installer. Though that's only a couple of things use that one as very odd resource. I'm going to say plaster and plastering. And let me leave that as that. So build phases are filtered to plastering, roof structure, and roof tiling. And the roof tiling's there just so there might be some insulation in there on that bit. And on the type, insulation, insulation installer, plaster, and plastering. I've done it all in one go. Now this is left just these plastering and some roof items within this section. And one of the reasons I left roof structure in is that when it comes to plasterboards, gablets, insulation to gablets, they come under roof structure. So there are some items I might want in there. I could remove roof structure because I want to focus on ceilings. I do this with floors as well. I can just repeat this in a moment with a floor. I want to look at insulation. So I'm scrolling out a little bit now. So tiled roof general specification. If I scroll to the top, it shouldn't take you long to scroll down to it. Tiled roof general specification. You can even compact these down a little bit, and it won't take you long to get to it. You just click on the arrows to roll them up. So I'm looking for this insulation to ceiling layer 1 and insulation to ceiling layer 2. And what we've got in there is GP fiberglass insulation roll 150, 6.99 meters square. There's 2 rolls of 150. Bonza. That's all right, I've got a resource I can use for that. If I was to highlight insulation to layer or ceiling layer 1 and click change resource, and from my list find my sheep's wool loft insulation cozy wall by Thermofleece 150 with its new usage factor, the one I created on Tuesday. Now if you don't have sheep's wool, you don't have the opportunity to create it on Tuesday, don't worry, just pick a different fiberglass. Just pick something that's a different size, maybe go for like a 200 roll or something. There's actually a 150 roll that's smaller as well. We've got a 5.42 meter square coverage. But since I created this last Tuesday, I am prepared. I'm going to select it. Now again, got my estimate rate. It's basically thinking that this is still a 6.99 meter square. And I've actually got sheets for 4.9 meter square. So I won't have enough if I was to not change this. So I need to click on the calculator and say I use 1 roll of sheets for insulation, so 1 of each if I don't change it. I've changed it to roll, so it says 1 roll of, and for 4.9 meters square. The usage factor, when I change from 0.143 to 0.2, £16.87 per meter square. Bit of an increase in cost, but now I've got the one that's been specified. I can click OK, and that's changed. I can do the same again, just to practice GP fiberglass, change the other role. So highlight, click change resource, pick the sheep's wool, and I will highlight at this point that whenever you are changing a resource, if you're looking around and going, well, gosh darn it, it's just not here, there's a new resource button. You're never stuck for creating a resource whenever you're working through this. So if you can click on new resource whenever, drop in the details of whatever you need. You could do this when you're estimating. So as you're reading through a spec list and you come across something that's esoteric, it's got like depths from the arcane contraptions of an architect who's not seen the light of day for 72 years and is still trying to design things. I don't know, I'm just trying to get random stuff right now. Using materials that come from the deepest, darkest forests of Sweden, then you can add it in as you need it. that was off on the track. That was there. That's passive house. So I've selected the cozy wall again. Confirm my usage factor 4.9. Click OK. Confirm that and done. Now the nice thing is, it's just 1 meter square off. So I can sit here and go, do I bother changing the laying speed of that? Is it worthwhile changing the laying speed of that? The laying speed of it is going to be the same rolling it out. You might have to, you get 1 meter less before you have to open another roll. Ooh. So for the sake of sanity, I'm just not going to bother changing it. I'll just no, the resource is being changed is fine. And there are many cases of where changing just the resource will be fine. Now, as again, if I want to clear all of these resources, I can just right click on the top there and go reset layout and put me back to fresh. Scroll up to the top again. Give it a chance to kind of apply those resources and then get back to the top with cleared filter. The next one we're going to look at is plasterboard. And once we've done the plasterboard, I shall then share with you, I think, actually a plasterboard, timber, and then the whole story. Yes, that is the plan. And then once we've done that, we can move on to mini specifications. Well, yeah, so I'm going to search for another filter now. Ceiling in the filter box. If you don't have that filter box, up there, it should be there. If not, Control F brings it up. The ceiling. We could have done this actually. There you go. It's gone and find me all these other different installation to ceilings, layer 1, layer 2, and all sorts there. That would have been a much better filter to use. Got my plasterboard. So I'm going to look for changing. I'm not going to do this on the tiled roof specification. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to the suspended floor specification. It's just a little scroll bit. I'll show, go to the top and scroll down. So I've got ceiling applied. Scroll down, so I can either just roll that one up, roll up the cut roof, roll up the tiled, and then specification, fourth one down on that. And I've got plasterboard to floor ceilings. And plasterboard square edge, 1200 by 2400 by 12.5 millimeter. And I'm going to change that. Not exactly much in the world you can change it to, but I've got something in mind. Now, on the occasion where you are building a house or renovating a house, and there was a garage built into said house, and they've not yet decided to convert it into a home office or a snug or some, utility room or whatever, and they actually want to use it as a garage. And it could be one of those rare garages built in the last 20 years that can actually fit a car in. So appropriately, if we've got a room above that, we need to make sure that that room is not going to catch fire under building regs. And as such, we're going to need that to use a fireboard on the underside. So if I was to use a standard suspended floor above that section of garage, I can go into the calculator for it. So it won't necessarily be a spec change I'll be doing here. I'll actually do it in the calculator for that one floor. I'll go to plasterboard to ceilings, highlight the item, click change resource, and within this list, I think it's up a little bit, there will be a fire protective plasterboard square edge, 1200 by 2400, 12.5 mil. Exactly the same size as what we need before. I can select that one, and because it's the same size, I can confidently say, okay, done. Swapped, changed, done and dusted. But then I can also go, oh, that says I need 2 layers of it. Now, I haven't got another layer I can add into this. I'm not going to estimate another floor just to get another layer of plasterboard or do plasterboard on it. What I can do is I can go to that plasterboard to floor ceilings there, and I can use the edit resource. And if I'd been thinking ahead of this one, I could have done it when I was at this stage. I can click on the calculator and say I actually need 2 sheets per every 2.8 meters square and just double the order of that resource. Click OK. Job done. Now I've now got 2 sheets of plasterboard effectively for every 2.88 meters square. I'll give you a chance to apply that one. Okay. Now, there are implications, ramifications, consequences of changing that resource. Put in questions if you can think of any other words to use. Oh, that's a bad start. That's brain sticking. We've doubled up the plasterboard, and a consideration for this is the doubling up of thickness. And will our screws now be inadequate? Do we need longer fixings? Do we bother changing the fixings? Do we just go, we're just going to use longer fixings? It's pointless changing it to order a whole pack of longer fixings when we've just got enough in the van. But if you are going to that level of detail, then you would go, okay, I've changed the plasterboard. I'm probably going to have to change the fixings to be longer than 42 millimeter. Our way out of this, if there isn't a dry POC wall screw in there that's longer than 42 millimeters, say 42 meters, that's a bit of that's a long screw. I can see I've got my dry POC ones there, 25, 42. Okay. I've got drywall timber screw 65 mil. I could use those. On the alternative, if I couldn't find something, I could always use in its place the screw and fixing allowance, which is £1 per meter square effectively, or £2 per meter square, whatever you want to make it. Now, for this, I'm going to do some maths. I'm going to use that drywall timber screws 65 millimeter. I could do 60 mil, would be, be fine. But I'm going to go 65. I'm going to go the whole hog because it's 250 pack. I'm going to select that. Now I'm going to click on this because there's a couple of things I need to consider. I might be having to use twice as many screws anyway because I'm going to have to screw it once and then screw it a second time. Or at least a couple of screws up. Might not be enough to really warrant considering it up. The other thing is that these are packs of 250, whereas the other one was previously a pack of 1,000. So I'm going to need 4 times as many to do the same area. Plus, if I want to put up, say a quarter the amount of screws first sheet before screwing it completely through the second one, say cross-lacing it, whatever. You know, I could say I used 5. There you go, 5 packs per 100 meter square. Done. It's not going to order that many because there's a small amount needed. But it's just put some money towards it. At least then, the key thing is the money side of it is so minimal it can get lost, by with the visits to the corner shop. You've got a fun size Mars bar there. They're going to do a difference on the job, but it does then, at the very least, if you're after listings of materials to use, you have a 65mm or whatever 60mm that you choose appearing, or at least an allowance to show that there's going to be an allowance that you need to go find out what it is you need to buy, listed in your materials listing. Whoever's going to be perusing it and judging it and trying to find fault with it, we'll see. Oh, okay, yeah, we've got 65mm screws here. So when they see an invoice for 65mm screws, they're not wondering where it comes from. Now, there's another implication on this. Now, the actual one that will make a difference to the costing of things, and that is fixed plasterboard 2-floor ceilings. Because currently, 2 plasterers and a mate, £69 an hour, nice, are doing £5.31 as their rate per meter square. If I click on edit resource and click on the calculator for that, you say 1 hour to do 12.978. Now, experience teaches me that it doesn't take twice as long to do a task on something like this. A lot of the task is stop starting, getting the sheets unloaded, getting them unwrapped, cutting the cables, bundling them up. Then you got your moving of them. And when you start moving stuff, it's actually quite a quick task. A lot of the time, the difference in, let's say, build speed on things, what makes things take longer, is lots of chopping and changing of tasks. From experience, it can take just as long to do up and over roof as it would do to do a porch. Same speed, or takes as long to do a porch and up and over roof. It's not so much the quantity of work, but the changing of tasks that does you in. Now, small jobs take ages sometimes. So, I'm not going to say it's 1 hour, or I'm going to say it's 2 hours. I'm actually going to say it's 1.5 hours to do the same area. They're in that task. They're in the zone. Yeah, they're doing it. They're getting the plasterboard up. So it's going to end up being a bit quicker. So I'll just give them 50% extra time to do all that extra stuff. Twice as much work. You could give them twice as long. They do a Scotty, you always overestimate it. So whenever you do it under time, you look like a miracle worker. But I'm trying to be realistic. So I'm going to click OK on that one. And that's done. Before we move on to timbers, any questions? Okay, no questions. All your hands are too cold from defrosting your car windscreens, your van windscreens this morning to type properly. I understand. It's a cold day. You're all wearing mittens. So I'm going to move on to just a little brief thing about some timbers before I go into the whole story, which segues into the next bit. I'm going to clear my filters. Shouldn't need to do much in the way of clearing because all I had was the text at the top, which I can just get rid of and hit enter. I was going to say just show, because I did give it as an example, about the rafters. I'm just going to type in the filter box at the top there. Rafter. Now, this has come up with everything that says rafters. Rafters, 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 there we go. Roof rafters, gable ladder rafters, so forth. Now, let's want to be a bit more specific on this one. I'll type in the roof rafter. Now, this has given me another problem. It's found everything with roof, so including waterproof. In German, that would be "Das ist nicht gut." So, speed brackets. Before and after. Now explicitly finds roof rafters. Again, works outside of software, works in file search, Google, Bing, Yahoo, if that's still a thing. Ask Jeeves. What else was there knocking around? So now we have all the roof rafters. I'm not looking at the other rafters, like gable rafters and stuff. I can do them separately. But there I've got the roof rafters, and I can fix roof rafters. I'm not worried about the labor side of things. I can even filter that out under the resource there if I want it to go to the effort of just saying material only. Now, as I look at this, I can see my Apex roof rafters, my generic ones, are 125mm timbers. I can see that my Apex Valley are 125mm timbers. My lean-to default to 150, hip roof rafters 125, and general roof rafters for the universal always default to 150mm timbers. So on a universal roof, it doesn't quite know or doesn't quite care what shape or size roof you're doing. It just wants to know an area and a pitch to do it at. It defaults to the slightly bigger timber, just to play it safe. So if you've ever estimated an Apex in an Apex roof rafter section, and same again in a universal, just to see what the difference is, that would be why. Different timber thicknesses and so forth, then it'll play into each other. Similar thing, if you're always using a different one on your Apex roof, or you're always using universal roof, 150mm timber, change that. Now, one of the reasons I point to this one is the same reason when we looked at changing resources in the price book on Tuesday. We've got our meter lengths, and then we have our each. There's a lot of them. Fortunately, kind of easy to spot the 200s in the same section. You shouldn't need to go unit of supply meter to make it easy to filter out. But there we go, 200, select that one. And this one, because I've picked that meter length one, the usage factor is 1. Uno. I use 1 meter for 1 meter. You'll find that on a lot of resources, like we did with the meter square rate of quarry stone floor tiles, that the usage factor is just going to be 1 for 1. You can always over egg it a little bit if you want to say, I use 1.2 for 1, and you order yourself an extra bit of material. Or 1.1, you end up, if you say 1.1 as usage factor, you end up with 10%, because the entire job extra. Salaciously trying to build yourself a shed on the cheap for your own house. Skimming it. So, 1 for 1, that is the general rule of that one. And say anything else that you want to try that with, again, change resource. It's not remember the filter. So if you know where it is, how far you got to go, might be easier just to scroll down to that one. I'm using the 200 there as my examples. 1 for 1, click OK, done. And the labor speed for fitting that is going to be, it's not going to be worthwhile changing that again. As long as they got a bit of a, muscle in their arm, they ain't got noodles for spines, then they'll be able to move a 200 timber just as the same as they can move 125. And if they can't, they soon will. Okie dokie then. Any questions so far? Or shall I move on to the final resource change one before moving on to mini specs? Now this one is a participation one. So participation. No, give me a sec. Participation horror story. There we go. So, I am going to type in floor. And let's see what I've got there. Floorboard. Floorboards. So floorboards there. Floor joists. Floorboards again. Now I could do floorboards in bead brackets. Find all of that. There we go. All the floorboards. Whitewood ungrooved flooring, 22 by 125 millimeter. Uses by default the more costly option, just so you're aware. So if you ever forget to change the specification, you're not losing money effectively. Now, this is a story that occurred like maybe 2 years ago now, maybe 3. I think it's 2. Time's flown by. And someone called in with an estimate that had gone horribly wrong. Dun, dun, dun. Now, they had been changing the not the specification, they've been changing some items within an estimate to suit what they were building with. And they've taken their suspended floor, they've gone for their floorboards, they've gone change resource. And within here, let's have a little look to a different section. I could scroll to it. It's S, I think, of sheet material, so I can scroll up if I'm quick enough, or I can just let's go type filter. Sheet materials. There we go. They'd gone to the sheet materials. Nothing was fine at this point. They'd gone to their moisture-resistant chipboard, 22 mil, and it was all fine at this point. They'd selected it, they'd clicked OK, and then they moved on. They'd gone to the next calculator, done a bit more estimating. Then they came back to the headline of their job and went their total job cost, and they were looking at hundreds of thousands of pounds. And this job should be around about 60. And a bit of head scratching occurred, and they couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. That's the scary bit. Now, in the questions box, can anyone type in and tell me what the issue is? Now, I'm going to do this training session one day, and the person that actually called in with this problem is going to be in the room. So if that's ever the case, I'm going to thank them for giving me this bit of material, because it's a... Yep. 2 people just replied, both correct. Usage factor, or estimate rate. So, we have £126 estimate rate, so £126 per metre square. That would be the problem. So, what did they forget to click? Well, they forgot. I'll give you the answer. When they had the edit resource up, they forgot to do the calculator or change the usage factor. So that's one of the answers there. So yeah, point asking that a second time has already been answered. So they've got 8.4 sheets per meter square, because before you needed 8.4 meters of plank at 22 mil wide, not 22 mil. What was it? 125 mil wide to make up a meter square. But without changing that calculator, it's now got 8.4 sheets per meter square. And click on the calculator. So yep, there we go. That would be the issue. Considering each sheet is £15 each, that's not an inconsiderable sum. So if I use instead 1, 4, engage the maths brain right now. 1.44. It's a really hard number to calculate, because if a standard 2400 by 1200 is 2.88, then something that's half the size is going to be 1.44. I didn't even work that out, I just remember it. It's like learning your times tables by rote. So you don't actually know how to calculate it, you just remember it. Now, one sheet per 1.44, estimate factor 0.6944. Nice. Click OK. Now we've got an estimate of £10.42 per metre square. Click OK. Done. We've now got a much more reasonable figure. And that is the importance of checking the usage factor when applying. Doing the installation, going from 5.99 to 4.99, you might be off a couple of rolls. And that's like 100, maybe 100 quid off over roof, or 200 quid. It stings, not the end of the world. That's just being short on the job. That is just breaking your estimate altogether. Now, there are a couple of other aspects to this that I've not yet considered. If I just type in here now, suspended floor spec, right? Just look at that whole suspended floor specification. I can see in there, I've got my floorboards. I've also got my fire protective board in there as well. But if I go to nailing and the fixing speeds as well, they're not done. Now, the fixing speed might not be too huge difference, but I am using the wrong fixings for this. This is saying lost head round wire nails by 65 by whatever 25 kilo box. That is not what you fix chipboard with. You can do. Nothing stopping nailing it all together, banging it down with nail guns or whatever, but there's a different fixing, which now segues me conveniently into the mini specs. We'll look into what the mini spec consists of in just a moment. But there are, if I click on apply mini specs, it will give me a list of the mini specs available I can apply to this specification. There's actually a little bit more than what you'd see when you start a job. So I can see £1.20 brick, roof tiling is plain tile, roof guttering is plastic half round gutter, flat roofing is GRP fiberglass. My floorboards, by default whitewood tongue and groove, if I change that to a chipboard tongue and groove extension renovation, and say just notice why you've got the different types of plasterboard you might want to put on there as well. Just to note, you can build a specification that does all backer board if you want. So I'll backer board everywhere. But I'm just going to change that single line, the chipboard tongue and groove. I'm going to click OK. It's going to apply it to the job. Now that's changed every instance of flooring to chipboard flooring now. But also, my nailing to floorboards is now wood screws, CSK twin thread, pack of 200. So now I'm using the appropriate screws, and my labour fixing speed has changed appropriately by the mini spec. So that's a little bit more reading it for the floorboards. They've all changed. Now, moving on to the mini specifications themselves, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Create Edit Mini Spec selection options. Now, a little warning at this point. The specification we've been tinkering with, this training specification, is its own thing. Changes in there will only apply to that specification and won't affect anything else at all unless we delete stuff out of the post book on our way. The mini specs, however, apply everywhere. Changing a mini spec in here will then be subsequently available to the other specifications and estimates that you're using them in, which means you can change the mini specs in an estimate and save it and create one that you can use in the next job as well, because it's kind of self-contained. It just overwrites the specifications with the mini specification of what you're using. Now, we saw a list of all the ones where we can apply directly. So now let's have a little look at what they consist of. Now, starting off, external wall brickwork. Pick the mini spec there, and then we can look at the options. So we can see, linking with all those different brick values that we had in the price book, a spec option for each of them. So we can just pick them out. The main headline difference between these is the speed. So extension, renovation, new build. Then reclaimed bricks, extension, renovation, and reclaimed brick, new build. If I was to go for a new brick, so a facing brick for new build, you'll see there's 6 spec line items in here to change and overwrite within the main spec whenever you use it. The price of the brick, its usage factor of 60 per meter square. So again, you could create one that's 52 if you've got imperial bricks. They're doing it for the bricks below splash course and above DPC less openings, as well as the multi-leaf bricks, so the multi-leaf brick walls as well. And then we've got the labour speed for fitting these. We've got 2 bricklayers and a mate, £75 an hour, and a production usage factor of 0.5. That, in real terms, is 1 hour to do 2 meters square. Fastest build speed. So that's, presumably like cement CD access. Bricks are loading up on a loading bay from a forklift. Life is good. If I go to facing brick for extension renovation and click on the usage factor for that one, 1.66667. Bit slower. They got to do some of their own loading out. These lay speeds, by the way, are factoring in still loading out movement of stores, mixing up and forming corners and such. It's not fastest build speed we can throw in there. Most mistake when trying to work out a generalized speed for building is to ask someone how much they can do and how many bricks they can lay in an hour, because they will give you their sunny day speed. Inversely, if I was just to look at the complete other end of the spectrum, so reclaimed for extension, this will have the slowest, about 1.5 meters. If I go down to the floorboards, there we go, and look at the whitewood tongue groove, 125, that's what I was looking at previously, you'll see that the default specification, across all the different areas we're looking at, so attic floorboards, replacing floorboards, suspended floors, ground floors, everything there. Now we've got the floorboard itself, which is the usage factor of 8.4. We've got our fixing floorboards, you build joiner and mate at 1.285, and using head round wire nails. Now if I just have a quick look at the edit resource on that one, and just note that's 3.5 hours per meter square. That's including all the cutting and so forth. If I was to look at the chipboard tongue groove, 22mm, they can do, no, sorry, 3.5, they can do 3.5 meters square per hour. Chipboard tongue groove is 5.8 meters square an hour. So significantly faster to lay that. We could have guessed that, but still, that's it down in writing. And we can have a little look at all the other different mini specs and how they apply. A good one is decoration. You'll see that there's a decoration spec, quite large. There's also a decoration that says no decoration, and this one is a giant rug pull. Every single item that is relating to decoration, varnish for window boards, anything that is spec linked, is set as not required. Now, by spec linked, what I refer to is calculators that we use to estimate with. the majority are what we call spec linked. And that means when they need to know what materials to use for a certain task, they look to the specification and go, aha, I'm using chipboard tongue and groove. Non-spec linked calculators tend to not require to need to look at the specification because they are their thing. You pick out a 700 and a bit mil wide door, right? Internal door. The door is its own thing, doesn't need to look to the specification to see what the door is because you picked that door from the calculator. You don't need to go to the specification to pick out the frame around it because it's the frame. The specification won't need to control what hinges because the hinges are the hinges for that door. It's self-contained for the element that you're picking because everything in that element is just what you need. There might be elements in those calculators that might look to the specification, but there will also be elements that will not look to the specification because you were almost nigh on picking the item for that calculator for the item contained within. And other ones don't need to be spec linked because there's nothing to look in the spec for. Example being site strip. Has zero reason to look at the specification because it asks you, are you doing your site strip by hand dig, JCB, or mini digger? Doesn't look to the specification to see what you're using, it just asks you explicitly what you're using. So we got that there. Now, just to have a little practice on tinkering with mini specs, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to do a tiling mini spec. So I've gone to mini spec roof tiling, and I've got mini spec option. I'm going to go for a pan tile for extension renovation. Now, before I go create anything, I'll point out, you see there, on pan tile, there's a lot of items that says not required. You see there, abutments, don't need tile and a halves on this one. There's no eaves, no top tiles, no specialist verge tiles unless we set them. What we're going to do. No fixing for that. There is fixing for verge tiles in there because clips and whatnot, but it's just generalized for a pan tile. If I was just to quickly look at, say, a plain tile, you'll see that all the lines are populated because there are eaves, there are top tiles, there are verge tiles. We've got all the tile and halves and say specialist clay tile and halves there. That for the valley tile and halves that we're going to use. All those gubbins, and same again for a slate one there as well. We've got slates that can be cut down for the tops and eaves, but verge tiles could be wider again, 50% wider, so we can do our cuts. So I'm going to go back to my pan tile for extension renovation, and if I could tinker directly and change what's in here if I want to, but I'm going to click on copy. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go with cloaks. As my lowercase the W that with cloaks. Emphasize on the cloaks, dramatic. Click OK. Now, currently, it's the same as the previous one, but it's been added to my list now with cloaks. I'm going to go to my verge tiles, which currently says not required. I'm going to click change resource, and it's dropped me into the price book nowhere near the tiles because it's looking at the sundry materials section saying not required. That's fine. I could type in there tile, take me to the roof tile section, saves time to scroll a little bit. Now, it's not really something I can directly copy right now in regards to this. I've got my concrete interlocking. Oh, clicked off that there, we go with tiles. Got my concrete interlocking. Now we've got £1.30, £1.70 allowance in there. So I'm going to click new resource. And I'm also going to pop across to the internet. We go Redland double Roman. Look. Let's go Travis. Let's go Roofing Superstore because I used them last time. Not sponsored by them, by the way. It's just because I like the XVAT ink VAT button. But also because I've used them before, and this is where I can make a comment about price. Now, it doesn't matter about roof finish really, you know, granulate or smooth, or what colour it's going to say. Let's go farmhouse red. Oh, they got no farmhouse. Yeah, they got okay. So I got £9.15. That's okay. They've come down again in price. That's good to know. When I did this in January, I was getting them in for £6.60ish. Then they spiked to 8, 9, 12. Last month actually, or month before that, about 12 quid. Now they got back down to 9.15. So that's good. It's nice to see prices coming down a little bit every there now. So unit cost £9.15. I'm actually just going to copy and paste the name. Just the whole lot. And say price tracker. Oh, let's just do Roofing Superstore, just for consistency. Normally I put it under provisional, but being fancy this week. And I'm going to leave the delivery weeks and payment weeks as 2. It can say oh, why is that? Doesn't actually give me a estimated delivery. The horror. Okay, I'm going to assume I can get it within 2 weeks. Put the merchant's code in there as well, because why not? Fluff that. There we go. And it does actually say on the website, give yourself a 5% wastage on there for damage during delivery. So, okay. If it's broken during delivery, that should be on them. I've had that argument before. Had a grab lorry, had a Atlas crane carrying a pallet of tiles. Lifted it up, went to drop it in a playground on a school we were working on, and it managed to drop the entire pallet in the middle of the road. I was like, first comment, you're paying for that. Yeah, not the funniest situation when people try and get past in their cars, but still. Anyway, I've created my resource. I've dropped it in there. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to select that tile, select it. Now it's going to ask me usage factor. I can have a little think about this one. Now, if I got, say, double Roman, that's going to be using, say, lifts of 300. So if it's per meter, you've got 3, then a little bit for overlap of, say, 3.3. There you go. Usage 3.3 tiles per 1 meter roofed. Click OK. And my mini spec is done. So there you go. It's £9.50 each. It's £30 a meter per meter. Now, it's not exactly the cheapest version of doing it. People might just go, oh, shoot me now. I'd rather have a plastic verge or something like that. But if you want it looking nice, I do think the cloak verge is one of the nicer options you can go with. And that's it. There's no saving it. It's done. It's in there. It's available to use in a job right now. If the job's not been created, that's fine. If you already got a job that's been created, you can't go into it and just use this because the job won't have the item within it. It's still a mini spec. Still a item that's been created in the main price book, just doesn't exist in any estimates just yet until we synchronize it. We'll go into that when we are in an estimate next session. But the main, purpose of the mini specifications is that they contain lists of resources and build speeds and labor to do those tasks that we can basically swap in to a job without having to make lots of changes manually. This list of mini specifications is continually growing. Recently added to the list, like last couple of years, we've had flat roof waterproofing, all the different types of flat roofing done. We've had all the different types of flooring joists that can be added in as well. You've got ply web joists, metal web joists, different laying speed or fitting speeds for extension new build as part of the mini spec there now as well. There is as well all the different plastering ones. These are not directly pickable, these are applicable to calculators directly, but it does mean you got like insulated skimmed board to battens or to timbers. So you can put some insulated boards as a mini spec. So we don't have to change the ceiling spec to represent everything. It's already covering the fact you're going to be using insulated plasterboard fixings 105mm. It already changes all that for you, so you don't have to do like we were starting off with, of thinking about everything. The more complicated ones should have this covered. And as over time, if you find that there are some things you're changing that could suit a mini spec, just give us a poke. It'll go onto the list, and if it's one that's been requested more, then it'll go higher in the list of things to be applied. So that now leaves us with the last couple of subjects. Are there any questions before I continue? So the last subject is me showing you the different types of calculators and how specification can be picked within those calculators. And the second one is me coming back out here and talking about overhead profit and inflation. Now, no questions? I am going to go to my dashboard. I'll do the profit and overheads last. And I'm going to click on create new job. And I'm going to go quote from job template. And for this, I'm just going to go customize build, because I don't need to do anything in particular fancy for this. I could pick my my training specification. Actually, let's just do it. Let's just pick the training spec. Why not? Now, I have my mini specs as well I can pick from. You'll see here now. Got roof tiling, flat roofing, so forth there. I'm going to hit create job. And I'm just going to open up, I'm not going to go do some actual proper estimating now. I'm just going to jump in and do some different types of wall, effectively. Now things can be kind of tweaked. Now I'm going to go to external walls first, because there's two types I've been looking at. There is the traditional brick and block cavity wall, especially with the older version of software. This is the one you're going to be using. Got 2022 or prior, or prefer to use this wall. Now, again, depends on what you want to be doing with it. Sometimes you might want to use an older tool for flexibility. I have got the old calculators showing for that purpose. We asked about this last time. And also the two-leaf external wall, which is the new system. I'm going to click select on that to add them both in. Now, I'm going to start off with the brick and block cavity wall, the old system. Add item to spec, and I say what kind of wall I want: single story, double story, gable only. I'm going to do a single story wall. Height, length, openings within the wall. Not fussed about that for the moment. Foundation details on page 2, page 4. Footing details, cavity widths. Is it insulated? Plastering and so forth on the final page. And that's done. And that's done. It opens up Dimensions Wizard for this. What we've been looking at is what's like under the estimating calculator. We have the dimensions, we have the calculated resources within this section, and then we have the sundry resources, which can't be blank. We'll look at the sundry resources next time, but it's just effectively where you can add extra stuff in. Certain calculators use that exclusively. There's also a resources wizard. It looks like the folder with the blue cog on it. And it basically gives us a nice, friendly interface to click on a resource and change it. So if I go to page 3, I can click on cavity installation, and I can see a polyiso CO8 board at 2400 by 1200. See what brick ties I'm using. See what blocks I'm using. If I was to go back to that cavity installation there, where it says polyiso, I can go, oh, no, actually I want to use a different one. I'm going to go in here, and I can just pick out. There you go, let's go to that full fill cavity wall board. That's the one we want. I've picked the wrong one. It's a different size. So I'm going to have to click on the calculator again. Oh, so I ain't got that number committed to memory. Let's go to calculator. Let's go 0.45 times 1.2 equals 0.54. There you go. Click OK. 40 pounds per meter square. It's expensive. Click OK. Done. And that's changed. And again, now I can use this drop-down box at the bottom to then look at the fixings of this. So it's a nice, easy way to navigate between the two. The other option is for the new walls. So if I click Add Item to the 2-leaf external wall, we are introduced to a new wizard. We have broken block wall, broken blip, broken ICF, broken SIPs, broken timber. So now the timber frame is actually including this one. So this one will actually bypass the timber frame spec. If I go broken block, you're asking what kind of wall I want to build. Broken block garage wall, cavity wall with plinth on a raft foundation or strip foundation. You can filter this a little bit. I wish the standard house walls were a bit further up the list, but still. Project type, extension, garage walls, exclude garage walls, foundation type, strip. There we go. Filters makes life easy. With or without plinth? I'm going to go without plinth for now. Then it just allows me to pick what kind of height I want. Though, again, I'm not locked in at this point. Shallow strip foundation and click select. Now, unlike the previous calculator, which then focused on dimensions, and then I could go into the resources afterwards, this one shies away from the spec lines, as it were, as it has its own specification within, because it depends on the wall you're building and how it's going to be using them. And it's got all the different lines to show you the composition of how this wall is going to be constructed. So we have our £1.20 facing brick, £1, say 44mm cavity wall with 144mm cavity with 90mm board. I could change that to that 100mm cavity with 90mm full fill board as to match the other wall, and that now make it 100mm wall, so 100mm cavity, 300mm wall. So I've actually got, it's going to change the thicknesses by changing some of these resources. Some of the new things that include in this as well is things like the parge coat as well. To see how many lines there is actually available to tinker with, if I click on the Show Not Required mini specs, you'll see that I've got external wall decoration, external finish, external insulation. So you could do an out leaf of block and then paint it without even without doing any kind of external finish. But on external finishes now, you'll see that there's, tiling, concrete interlocking tiles, dry dash silicon render, fiber cement interlocking cladding, natural slate, hydraulic line render, one coat render, panelized metal cladding, profile metal cladding. PVC cladding, rough cast, sand cement, standard silicon render, stone cladding, all, lots of gubbins in there now, let's put it that way. A lot of choice. But back to the wall itself. I can edit the resources being used under here. I can go to that £1.20 brick. It's got that effectively the same as a mini spec as there before now, and change that to a £1.40 brick. I can click on edit resources to edit the composition of this. So if I just pick the brick, but the brick itself, what is being composed of. So brick, the sand being used for that, cement being used, and who's doing it, and their usage factors, and the calculator if I want to change that as well. New addition, I asked for that to be added in. Because normally it would only pop up when you change something. Let's put down to a 1.30. You'd get a calculator pop up there, but I added it so you can change it in here, just in case. Just thinking of you guys. So you've got specification, you've got some Plans Express settings in here as well. Just popping up for if it feeds back, if you're creating something in here to feed back to plans, what is actually going to look like as well. Now, beyond the material side of things, then it gets into something a little bit more familiar, the wizard, but not by clicking next. You just got your general, so your height, your length, then your composition of this. Any openings, that'll be added in, so you can set the openings, instead of saying an overall size, you can say, oh, there's this window and that door. Gables again, so you're not limited to a high number. Parapet walls, new feature on there. So if I said yes to the parapet walls, continue on past the wall plate with the additional brickwork. So now we can go from brick and block to brick and brick, or brick and block and render on the inside, or laid it all the way up. That kind of thing as well. Also, coping stones. All in. Foundations, they will be familiar, and the footings as well, again, being familiar. Click OK. Done. So that's the difference between the two and how specs will be implemented. So some of the older tools where the specification will be fed in and we can just tweak them under the resources, or the new ones where the specification and makeup of the wall is front and center. The majority of the walls will be done with a new way now, including the internal walls as well, which have that same methodology. But things like the floors, the roofs, and such will be using the older methodology. Items that will not be spec linked for the most part, with things like the doors, external doors, and so forth. If I click on main estimate, see if we've got anything in here I can. There we go. So the difference between those tools there, that brick and block wall, spec linked, has a tick to say it's looking to the specification for its resources, while the new 2-leaf external wall is not looking to the spec. It's all contained within, which makes it, in all fairness, a lot easier to do the walls. You don't have to even worry about what the spec says. You just say, I want this kind of wall and I want that stuff on it. Makes life a lot easier, especially when you've got the block and block wall and a whole rainbow of different renders you might whack on the front of it. Now, I'll make a quick dash into this because it's less applicable now, but sometimes if you do need to do something that is outside the remit of what we're normally going to do, I'm going to go to an internal wall. I'm going to go to a stud wall, and I'm going to add also in a single leaf internal wall now as well. The old thing I used to do on a stud wall, I was going to turn it into a structural stud wall. I'd go into stud, add item to spec, pick one there. Okay, set the wall. I'll go to the resources, and I'll go to plastering. And I'd use the same principles I'd used previously. So I'll go, if I need a layer of ply each side, as an example, but I still need to have plasterboard both sides, I could use one of these layers of plasterboard to be ply instead. But to make sure I've got enough plaster, I can go to plasterboard side 1, edit build phase and usage factor, click on the calculator and say I need 2. I can go to the fixings of that, click on the build phase and usage factor, click on the calculator and say I need 2. Click OK. Everything on side 1 is now enough resources to do that. If I go to plasterboard side 2, I could change that from plastering to sheet material and change that to be 18mm ply. Click on the calculator and say I need 2 for that area. Fortunately, the ply is the same side as the plasterboard, so it makes it nice and easy. But I can work out what it is and then say I need 2 of to do both sides. Actually, one thing I didn't do on that one, I didn't change that build phase from plastering to joinery first fix. That's an important one. Then plasterboard fixing or plastering fixings that side, screws and fixings is fine, but it won't be dry proc anymore. If I scroll down, it'd be more like wood screws. And what's pack of 1,000 in there currently, so I'm probably going to have to go for something. If I go pack for 200, change that to joinery first fix in there as well. Could be second fix actually. Think about it. We'll actually get the pipe work in, wires. Click on the calculator and say if that's 1,000 previously, we can say I use 10 of to do the same area because it's actually 5 of because it's pack of 200, and then because it's double the area, I can either say 10 actually to double it, or I can make that 50, either which way. But 10 for 100, and that's that done structurally. I can go to the materials, labour, plant, sundry there, fix plasterboard side 1, double that. Don't have to buy the finish is fine. Fix plasterboard side 2, change that from plasterer to a carpenter. Joiner and mate. Joinery first fix. And say it takes 2 of them as well. So that there is effectively a quick way of making a structural. That's the old way. If I go to single leaf now, the new wall, I can see if I can replicate that. Now this is the first time I'm doing this. So stud wall. Let's go acoustically insulated. 2.4, no foundations. Now I'm going to see if I can replicate it under the new walls. This is first, you are witnessing me thinking. That's also me having a glug of coffee so I can do this. So I'm going to, first off, maybe show not required layers, just in case I need them. Now, I've got side 1, plasterboard. Edit resource, plasterboard side 1 square, calculator 2. That should be enough in there. Click OK on that one. User defined spec. In fact, I can actually as well as the fixings on the same thing as well. Actually, I need 2 of the fixings. Hence why I asked for these calculators down here so I can pull this stunt. Then on internal finish side 2, I've got hardbacker board, insulated butter boards. Now, what I do is I'm going to click edit resource. Actually, let's go back to the one it was previously. Oh, one moment. Just had a delivery. So let's have a little think then. So we've got plasterboard to wall side 2. If I could click on that one, search through, but that's all just looking in the plasterboard section. So I'll have to click on the book with spanner to open up the price book. I go sheet material, hardwood ply, select that one, calculator 2, click OK. Now I can leave all the jointing stuff in here because I didn't change the quantities of the jointing tape or anything like that on the first side. So this will still do the plastering on this side as well. It's just the board I was kind of pinching. Now if I go to the fixed plasterboard to wall side 2, I've got the 2 plasterers and a mate. Again, I will need to go to the calculator there, pick out joiner and mate. I'm not getting so much the same graphical one as this, but it does give me it all in one place. And the other thing I need to just change in here is fixings. So try to put wall screws. Fortunately, it's in the screws and fixings section already, so I can just scroll down. I know it's my wood screws, pack of 200. Just slightly different usage factor, so like 2 for 100. That's what I did before. That was 10 for 100, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, and yeah, done. So it's a little bit more to look through because we've got so many extra options now. I don't actually need to show the not required. I can keep that a little bit more simple, but I can now go in there and I can still in this list swap out things to make it structural. In fact, I can, if I've got so many lines now, I might not even need to swap anything out. I've got internal finishes now. I can go, actually, I'm going to go to, I can say not required. I could pick out any one of these, edit resource, and just tweak to whatever I want. Say not required, not required, not required, and make it something else. But I just thought, so you don't have to necessarily follow along or even fully understand what I've just done. But what I wanted to kind of share in, say, this last bit, just so we can ramp up the difficulty a little bit, is that there are things you can do to bespoke the composition of how something is made, however you like. I probably don't need to do what I just did in here. I just replicated what I've done in the previous stud wall. As mentioned, we've now got lots more in the way of lines we can work with. So if you can hear a very excited 5-year-old in the background. He's very happy. So with that done, I'm going to click OK, come out of that, and just leave that job. Are there any questions before I leave that section? Nope. I'm going to go back to my dashboard and don't save. Now, before I do, I will point out under the job settings is a copy of the price book that we've been working on, copy of the specification that we've been working on, and a copy of the overhead and profit that we are just about to change as well, though this one will be remaining to the old one. So I'm going to go back to dashboard. I'm not going to save this job. Sorry. And I'm going to go to the library. And I'm going to go to the overhead profit inflation as it would be within the library. Now on the final section, which is good because we've got 10 minutes left and I don't want to hold you any longer than you need to because you've all got busy days. I'm sure you all want to go back outside into the lovely cold weather, especially if you're on the south side of the country where there's been snow warnings down in Cornwall because it has been lovely and frosty outside this morning. Met a couple of people doing the school run this morning. They're like half frozen. I'm there going, I do like the brisk cold mornings. They look at me very strange. I was like, layering is an art. Now, doing it the bad chest though is not probably the best idea. Anyway, overheads and profit markup and inflation rates to tack on it as well. We do these as separates, so we can work out one and then work out the other. And we keep it separate on material, labor, plant, subcontract, and sundry, so you can adjust them individually as well, because you might need to add additional overhead to your subcontractors. You might need to add additional overhead to your labor. You might want to make more profit on your materials. And there can be many reasons why you do this. A, because your subcontractors might be costing you a little bit more to employ for any various reasons, insurance, tax, and so forth. Yeah, you want to factor it into the overhead instead of into what you're paying them. But there are other reasons as well. Now, everyone's overheads are going to be different because everyone's companies are different. You might have two identical companies in this room right now, or in this group. 2 vans, no office, 4 guys on the books, 1 secretary, or someone just doing admin, doing the books for you, a bookkeeper. Very similar. You might even be all driving transits, or Movanos, or Transit Connect. You might be driving the same vehicles, but then suddenly, you're a different part of the country, and one of you's on Vodafone, the other one's on O2 for your phone contracts, and suddenly, boom, difference. So your overhead's going to be different. Now, that can be factored in. One of the ways to work out what your overhead can be is, say, work out your outgoings on a particular month and work out what you earn over a particular period, and you can see what your kind of outgoings are per month. See what you need then to apply as overheads onto your jobs. Your bookkeeper can assist with what kind of working out what your overheads are percentage wise, and then you can see how much you want to be applying on here. What percentage of overheads is coming in compared to your incoming. Now, again, this is going to be different. We do recommend everyone has 15 to 15, 30% of total markup. Because if your overhead's a little bit more, then you're still making profit. If your overheads are less, you're making more profit. But you don't want to be sinking but too low, because you're opening yourself up to a world of hurt if there's sudden price rises. It's not like that's not happened in the last couple of years when sudden materials have just gone booster rockets. Let's see how high we can go today. And yeah, you can protect yourself for that. If you try and cut it too close to the bone, it's a thing that happens a lot when people go, oh well, you didn't win the job, you were too expensive. Too expensive is the most frequent lie you will hear. If you are often told you are too expensive, it may not that you are too expensive, unless you've quoted, like quadruple the amount of what someone else has. But there could be a reason for it. It could very well be that they're just being nice, and it's a nice, easy excuse to say because it's the one everyone expects to hear as a reason why they didn't go with you. They just might not like your beard. I find that. Got a beard. Like I said, so it's an excuse one, and you should never get hung up too much on someone saying it's too expensive, because if you start cutting down your overheads and cutting down your profits to win the job, eventually you might win the job, and that is the worst thing that can happen, because now you're paying the customer to do the work. You are now covering any price rises. They're still paying what they're paying. You've got it in contract, you might be locked in at that price as well, and you're not making any profit. You're basically just turning over, treading water, and not going anywhere, and it can actually be detrimental and cost you money. So don't cut down too close to the bone for the sake of winning work. And that's that is exactly your intention. The other things there as well, why it's split between material, labor, plant, subcontract, and sundry, is so that when you've got certain things that might be taken out of your control on those items. A classic example is under materials. Now we've got 15% overhead, 15% profit. So we want to be making money on anything we supply. What happens when the customer turns around and goes, oh, I've already bought those materials? Yeah, well, they can't claim the VAT again, can they? They can't claim that back. They haven't got it at a good discount like you might have got, but they've gone ahead and bought it because they're trying to, do things themselves, maybe. Just beware of that, by the way. If a customer's trying to run the job, if it's a domestic customer, CDM 2015 means that you're still liable. You're actually supposed to be in charge of the job, and if the health and safety turn up, you'll get fines. So don't let domestic customers try and run the job. But yeah, if they turn around and order 10 grand's worth of bricks, £10,000 worth of material, and your markup is 30%, that's 3 grand you've just waved goodbye to. 1.5 grand worth of company running costs, 1.5 grand of like money to bank to expand your business, buy a new mixer, replace your van with something that can drive through a clean air zone. It disappears. So you can either suck it up, or you can go, actually, the customers like already saying they've indicated that they're going to be buying certain materials. That you generally know some of the things they might be doing. They might be doing like the kitchen and stuff like that. The bathroom suite. They might turn around and buy the tiles for the fitting of it. So, knowing that you're going to be shorter on the material costs, you can pump your overheads up a little bit, 20% on materials to cover that shortfall where they've pulled the rug out from underneath you. You can put your profit and mark up on your labor a little bit. So you're focusing on the fact you're supplying the labor to the job if they keep, pulling the rug out underneath you on materials. So you can still recoup some of those costs. So you're not left, stranded with a customer that keeps, making the job less and less profitable to the point where you may as well not be doing it. Hopefully that's an understandable and not too harsh a message, but that is things to kind of be aware of, and why you kind of want to have a little control over your profit and overhead margins on there as well. Don't cut them too low because you put yourself vulnerable to the market, and that psychological torture that affects all of us that's been in the industry at some point or other of being told you're too expensive, because people do pay the premium on work if they're happy with what they've been presented for them, by the company, the quote, how you turn up and deal with them. It's all part of, I say the game, but it's all part of that whole circus of being in business. Now, inflation rates are another aspect to cover you. They're not on by default. They are a tick box and some reports that you can, it's the tick box you apply to your final quote. It has a delay of 12 weeks and an increase of 5%. All this will do is from the start of the job, 12 weeks in, any materials ordered after that will have 5% increase price. Any labor ordered after will have 5% increase in price. Now this is worth noting that earlier on, I created a resource and I had a 2-week lead time. The cloak tiles. Same with the sheep's wool and many other insulate resources of that type were applied. So example, let's say I'm doing the roof in week 13. They will not, those resources for the roof covering in week 13 will be at the original price because the materials were ordered in week 11. But let's say we move on to decoration. Plastering is probably the last expensive one, sort of fitting out. Let's say plastering's occurring in week 15. Plastering will have the 5% increase applied because unless you ordered it 4 weeks prior, anything that was ordered 2 weeks prior would have been ordered in week 13 post markup date. So F can have a 5%. That way then, if you've got jobs that you can apply this and actually make that delay even shorter. Let's say you're starting a job in the beginning of October, you can have a delay of 8 weeks. And if an ordered after that, it's going to be January, +5, +10%. You can plan ahead a little bit with that. During the pandemic, where material prices were doing all sorts of silly things, especially with sheets of ply, and there's a fantastic meme of a sheet of ply went through someone's windscreen. They went, "Oh no, my car's ruined, but it's okay. I've got a sheet of ply. I sold it and bought a new car." When that kind of thing happens, and I got a graph as well sent to me from dev team, like a material timber prices look like a ski slope. It just gone boom, off it went. I set the delay to 6 weeks. I left the material as a 5% increase, and everything else went down to 2.5%. Though labour still probably could catch up with that a little bit, but it meant that I wasn't, whacking up all that extra cost on the plant and sundry, but my materials was rising faster than everything else. So, and it assures a delay before the next price increase. So it just kind of protected a little bit that way. It's not in every job. You can produce a quote for the customer with inflation and produce a job for the customer without inflation. You can do it with inflation if you're starting much further down the line and say, look, factoring some inflation, whack it up with a delay of 1 week and see how much extra costs, and they might go, oh, I'd get it done sooner than later. Either which way, it's a tool you can use to increase the price of the job to protect you if done over a longer period. And they're very particularly useful when you are doing, say, large house builds, because if you're doing a house build over 12 months, as I mentioned earlier on with the cloak tiles, beginning of this year, it was £6.60. It went up to £12. They're £9.15 now, but at least they're now at 50% more than what they were. So if you're estimating at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, big difference. So protect yourself with inflation if you are doing something like a big house build. It's going to take more than 6 months. Are there any questions about what we've gone through today so far? Not? What I might do, just for the fun and giggles of it all. Let's do a quiz. Last couple of minutes. I'm going to say, if I want to swap a specified resource, which button do I click? Edit resource, change resource, or not required? Oh, good, people are voting. I've not sent you all to sleep just yet. Good start. Hey. Oh, it was going so well, but a couple of misclicks, I'm presuming. The correct answer, say now most people have voted, is change resource. To change the specified resource. Edit resource will allow you to change its usage factor or its build phase it's being used in. You can edit it. But to change it, change resource. Or to swap a specified, it's change resource. And what else have we got? I'm not sure what type of to type in for the usage factor. What should I do? Give up and make a brew. Have a guess. Or click the usage factor calculator button. Now, I will be brutally honest. If I was taking this quid, I'd have clicked give up and make a brew, because the idea of stopping to make a brew is eternally tempting. But so far, everyone's clicked right. Click the usage factor calculator button. Excellent. That was quick responses on that one. It's good to see the everyone's hot on that one. And finally, what type of resources can I swap? Only material resources, only labor resources, or any type of resource, but usually material or labor. Well, votes are coming quite quickly there. That's actually all good. Yes, I am pleased. You are correct. Any type of resource, but usually material or labor. You can swap out plant, of course. Might want to swap out strong boys for needles and whatnot. But you are all correct. Any type of resource is the correct answer on that one. Now, with the quiz bit done and dusted, that's the fun bit done now. It's done now. We will be reconvening next Tuesday for some actual estimating, where we're going to have a little dabble at a template for a lean-to extension. It might seem like a basic job. You might want to see it a little bit more complicated. But the key things to bear in mind is that we are looking at selecting template, what kind of information is in a template, how it works with each other, how we can add additional things into that. So then once those basics are under our belt, the sky's the limit for what level of complication you want to go to, because no matter how complicated you want to go, it all starts off on the same few building blocks. Okay, then. I'll see everyone next Tuesday. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.